Good morning, students. In the last class, we have completed the chapter Human Reproduction, and today I will discuss some of the assignment question and some of the CBSE board question. Now, before answering or before writing down your answer in the exam, bear this in mind while writing biology answer that all the answers should be written in points. If you are drawing the figure, please make sure that it is neat labeled diagram. Don't mark any irrelevant parts in the diagram. Line should be straight while labeling. Okay, and while writing down the points in a particular answer, please avoid repetition of sentences. All these I have already told you in your previous class, that is, I have already mentioned all these things how you are going to write in your exam in 11th standard. Again, I am repeating the same thing. So bear all these things in your mind and don't do any mistake. Okay. Now, first question. Pick out and name the cells that undergo spermiogenesis. I hope you have written down all the assignment and the notes and have seen all the video lesson. Now here I am not going to tell you what is spermiogenesis, what is spermatid. Okay, just we will see how to write down the answer. First you have to pick up and name the cells. That means A, B, C, D. From here you have to pick up. Now D is the cell that will undergo spermiogenesis. So what you will write? D is spermatid that will undergo spermiogenesis. No need to write any definition. Name A and B cells. So A will be the first one, that is spermatogonium, and B, okay, this one, it is the primary spermatocyte. Okay. Now what is the difference between these two with the reference to the number of chromosome? So both these are diploid, that is they contain 46 chromosome each. Pick out and name the motile cell. So motile cell is where? So these are the motile cells. Okay, that means E is spermatozoa and they are the motile cell. Okay. What is F cell? So F cell is Sertoli cell and it provides nutrition to the germ cell. Okay, this will be the answer. Now name the structure of which the given diagram is a part. So this diagram is a part of seminiferous tubule. Okay. Now next, given below is the TS of human ovary. Identify the following in the diagram. Now all these things are given, you have to identify it. Okay, it is of 5 marks. First is corpus luteum. So if you know this, the diagram also given in your NCERT book. So just find out which one is the corpus luteum. So this one, D will be the corpus luteum. Okay. Now second is secondary oocyte, and if you remember the your figure which is given in NCERT, so this one B1 is labeled as tertiary follicle with antrum or showing antrum, and just after that, okay, just after that there is a follicle which is labeled as Graafian follicle. Okay, if you remember the figure, and in that Graafian follicle, okay, secondary oocyte is present. So though it is not labeled in the diagram, so what you will write? Secondary oocyte in Graafian follicle. So C is the Graafian follicle. Okay, so you will write C, secondary oocyte in Graafian follicle. Now third is antrum. So in this figure, where is the antrum? So this was the antrum where it was written tertiary follicle showing antrum. Okay, so you will label this also as B. Primary follicle. So primary follicle is E, and this one is the blood vessel, that is A. Okay, now next important question. Explain the changes the primary oocyte undergo while in different follicular stages before ovulation. Now, in my video lecture, I have already described it. Okay, so here you will be giving 6 points starting from each primary oocyte till this. Remember, okay, means follicular stage. Okay, so what are the changes the primary oocyte is undergoing, okay, till the follicular stage. So first you will write primary oocyte gets surrounded by single layer of granulosa cell, primary follicle. Then after that you will write primary follicle gets surrounded, second point. Third, a secondary follicle get transformed into tertiary follicle. Then the fourth, primary oocyte undergoes first meiotic division, and then fifth, the tertiary follicle further changes, and then the sixth, the secondary oocytes. Okay, now next is the following is the illustration of the sequence of ovarian event A to I in human male. Now this figure is from the diagrammatic representation of various events during a menstrual cycle, that means ovarian event. Okay, if you remember that in that figure, developing follicle, mature follicle, developing corpus luteum was given. So from that only this question is given. Now identify the figure that illustrate corpus luteum and name the pituitary hormone that influence its formation. Okay, so this is of, okay, it is of 5 marks. So first you will identify the figure, which one is the corpus luteum. So this one G is the corpus luteum, and name the hormone. So LH, that is luteinizing hormone secreted by pituitary hormone, influences its formation. So it will be of half marks. Then specify the endocrine function of corpus luteum. So you have to specify the function, that is it secretes progesterone. And then how does it influence the uterus? So progesterone is essential for maintenance of endometrium layer of uterus. Here endometrium layer is the keyword. Why is it essential? So endometrium is necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and other events of the pregnancy. What is the difference between D and E? Now let's take a look between D and E. So D is a developing follicle, whereas E is a mature follicle. Okay, got it? Now this is of 2 marks. Draw a neat label sketch of Graafian follicle. So I have given you the sketch of the Graafian follicle, that is the diagram. From that only draw it, and it is of 2 marks. So at least you have to label 4 parts of the Graafian follicle. Okay, either you can label the basement membrane or the zona pellucida. Secondary oocyte is very important. Corona radiata, zona pellucida, corona radiata. Okay, secondary oocyte that you can mark, and the antrum you can mark. So all the 4. Okay, now next, given below is TS of human ovary. Identify the following in the diagram. Okay, so again you have to identify the following in the diagram and explain the changes the primary oocyte undergoes while in different follicular stages before ovulation. Now just before we have discussed same type of question, but there the thing was different. Okay, so here also the same thing you have to write down. Okay, so again A will be the Graafian follicle. Okay, then B will be the antrum, C will be the, here it is marked C, so C will be the ovum, then D is the corpus luteum, and E is the primary follicle. Okay, so corpus luteum, secondary oocyte, antrum, primary follicle and primary oocyte. Okay, now explain the changes. Like that only you have to explain the changes also. Okay, means the change in the primary oocyte, again it is surrounded by granulosa cell and then is called primary follicle, and then many primary follicle degenerates. Okay, in the same manner you will write down the answer. I hope this is clear to you. Okay, now next, explain the events taking place at the time of fertilization of an ovum in human female. Trace the development of the zygote up to its implantation in the uterus. Okay, so this is of 5 marks. Now, how you will write down the answer? So, first explain the events taking place at the time of fertilization of ovum. Okay, so how you will write? First, you will write starting from fertilization, means fertilization occurs in human being at the amplo-isthmus junction, okay, of fallopian tube. Then explain the event taking place. Now what are the events taking place? Okay, so what you will write? A sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum. It induces changes in the membrane that blocks the entry of additional sperm. Then acrosome in the head part of the sperm helps to digest the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane of the ovum and enter into the cytoplasm. Okay, then entry of the sperm induces the completion of second meiotic division of the secondary oocyte, which leads to the formation of the second polar body and a large oocyte. And then nucleus of the sperm and that of the oocyte fuses to form a diploid zygote. So all the 5 points you have to write down. Okay, so it is of 2.5 marks. Next is development of zygote up to implantation. Again it is of 2.5 marks. So development of zygote, okay, means it is of 2 marks, sorry. So how many points? Again you will carry on with the points, means how you will go further. Cleavage division, you can start it from here, means development as zygote has been made up. Now how it will proceed to implantation? So you can write cleavage division starts in zygote, which results in 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cell. They are called blastomeres, and the embryo with 8 to 16 blastomere is called morula, and then morula divide and transform into blastocyst as it move further into uterus. Blastomere in the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called trophoblast. Okay, and then this trophoblast layer gets attached to the endometrium and the inner cell mass get differentiated as the embryo. Okay, so implantation definition you have to write that after attachment the uterine cell divide rapidly and cover the blastocyst. It leads to blastocysts embedding in the endometrium of the uterus, which is called implantation. Okay, now name and draw a labeled sectional view of the embryonic stage that gets implanted. That means it is just of half marks and you have to just draw a embryonic stage, that is the name and draw a labeled sectional view. So what you will draw? You will draw a blastocyst stage which implants in the uterus, that means an embryonic stage, and there you will mark trophoblast, blastocells and inner cell mass. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now describe the post-zygotic events leading to implantation. Again same answer where this one you have written, and placenta formation in human. So placenta formation you will be writing. Okay, after that, and mention any two function of the placenta. So any two function, first one you can write that it acts as an endocrine gland, and whatever the hormone is secreted, that is HPL, estrogen, progesterone, and then it facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the fetus and removal of carbon dioxide and excretion products. Okay, now next, mention the event that induces the completion of the meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. Okay. Trace the journey of the ovum from the ovary, its fertilization and further development until the implantation of the embryo. So first you will be writing, mention the event that induces the completion of meiotic division. Which was the event? So you will write secondary oocyte completes meiosis II only when a sperm enters its cytoplasm. It forms a last cell, a oocyte, and a small cell, second polar body. Okay. Now this is of 1 marks, and then this is of the 4 marks. So here you have to write down 8 points. So how will you write? So you have to just trace the journey of ovum from the ovary, then fertilization until implantation. So from starting from the secondary oocyte is released by the rupture of Graafian follicle in the process called ovulation. So ovulation, then it moves in the fallopian tube with the help of the fimbriae. It reaches the amplo-isthmus junction where fertilization takes place. Then cleavage starts, which causes 2, 4, 8 and 16 daughter cell called blastomere. Then 8 to 16 blastomere is called morula. Then morula continues to divide and blastomere. So all these till the trophoblast gets attached to the endometrium wall. Okay. So 8 points should be written. Now when and how does placenta develop in human female? So how does the placenta develop? So what you will write? After implantation, placenta develops. Finger-like projection called chorionic villi develop on the trophoblast, and it gets surrounded by uterine tissue and maternal blood, and this then chorionic villi and the uterine tissue becomes integrated with each other and form placenta. This is given in your NCERT also. How is placenta connected to the embryo? So placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord. And then how placenta acts an endocrine gland? That you know that it secretes following hormone. Now just you have to name the hormones. Okay. Please remember to name all the 4 hormones. Okay. Now this is a sample of the question and the answer I have given you. In this way only you will write all the answers, whatever I have just now discussed with you. This question states that name the hormone involved in menstrual cycle. Side by side marks is also here given. So you see that just the name is given, no explanation and nothing. Please don't, I have earlier told you, don't write any irrelevant things. Okay. So you can see this, how the answer is to be given in your board exam. Okay. Now next is the difference between male gamete and the female gamete. That means it is an OR question of the previous one. Now this is the question which you have to answer. The figure given below shows the transport of ovum, fertilization and passage of growing embryo through fallopian tube. Integrate the stages given in above diagram and compile a report in your own words to describe the process occurring here. Okay. So development of embryo from fertilized ovum involves following events. So again the same thing you will write, that is the fusion. Okay. Here it is given. So till all these things you will be writing from starting here to here. Okay. Integrate the stages and then you have to compile a report what is the processing occurring here. So fusion of the haploid nuclei, then the zygote moves, then the young embryo slowly moves down to the fallopian tube. Okay. Where the following event take place, that is the morula, then blastocyst, then implantation. All you have to write down. Okay. Clear? Now next one is also explain the menstrual phase in the human female and state the level of ovarian and pituitary hormone during this phase. So first you will write what is only the menstrual phase, and then you will write the level of the ovarian and the pituitary hormone during this phase. That means During this phase, the level of both the ovarian and pituitary hormones are low, and the level of the follicle stimulating hormone starts to increase during the later stage of this phase. Okay, means both these hormones level are have fall down, okay, during this menstrual phase. Now next is, why is follicular phase is called proliferative phase, that you have to describe it. Okay, means explanation is given, write down the definition and then you can add on. Since the follicle and the endometrium proliferate during the follicular phase, it is also known as proliferative phase. Now explain the events that occur in Graafian follicle at the time of ovulation and thereafter. So what are the events occurring? So Graafian follicle ruptures to release the ovum, secondary oocyte, then remain parts of the Graafian follicle transforms into the corpus luteum. Okay, that you will write, means at the time of the evolution, the release of the gonadotropins increases and LH and FSH are at its peak. Okay, because you have to write down whole event, and the increase level of the LH causes the rupturing of the Graafian follicle and release of ovum into fallopian tube. Okay, then the remains of the Graafian follicle get converted into corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone for maintenance of the endometrium in the case of pregnancy. Okay, now next one is, draw a Graafian follicle and label antrum and secondary oocyte. Now you have to draw a Graafian follicle and label antrum and secondary oocyte. That means here you have to label draw a mature Graafian follicle, and thereby you have to label antrum and secondary oocyte, and it is of 1 marks. So this whole video lesson was for the answering pattern, how you will write your answer. Now I hope this is very much clear to you all. Kindly read NCERT, all the answers write down in your note copy. Okay, every answer is given, find it out, and next we will start with the reproductive health. So that's all for today. Read NCERT and keep learning. Thank you.